Right. That's great because there's where was it? I think it said when you were 33, you had $13 in your bank account and you're 3,000 in debt, and then you started I think I believe it's a tarp business, and in the first year it made $500,000 in revenue. So I would love to know the math of how you made that possible, like, because just like I've run some pretty inventory heavy businesses, and it can be pretty frustrating because everything that comes in is going straight out and back into more inventory. So how did you start that business? Like, where did the investment come from, and how did it take off so quick? Or even like to start, where the impetus of the idea came from? Like, tarps isn't just like a nightclub tarps, obviously. Right? Like,
Right. So my dad had a tool business. My dad, after he made all that money selling calculators. It's called the Calculator Kid in the 70s. He sold his calculators. Before that, he was in the tool business in the late 60s. His business partner was a guy named Alan Smith. My dad went off to sell calculators, made millions of dollars, lost it all, went back to the tool business in 1975, 76. And there was that guy, Alan Smith. He started a company called Harbor Freight, which is a multi-billion-dollar company now.
okay.
My dad now is broke, and he's sitting there, and he had these tools. So then I said, you know what, I want to sell tools, and that was why I did tools when I first graduated high school. Now, I wasn't going to do that again, but he says, I got a lot of these tools, man. He's like, he's a jobber at this point. His heyday's over, and he's like, I got a lot of these tools. Here's a catalog with, suppliers. And I said, I don't want to sell freaking drill bits and, bracelet wheels and all that stuff. I tried that when I was in high school. I just want to sell one thing, and I saw tarps was in this catalog, that he had. And I said, I want to be able to sell this stuff because you could use it for a lot of stuff. And I also, said, a lot of homeless people use tarps, and I could donate them too, because I used to donate canned food for the homeless when I did a nightclub. It was called Turkey Soup. Get in for half price. And, if you bring a canned food for the homeless. I said, I could still do that for Thanksgiving. And you build a little story that motivates you. And I said, well, I could kind of see it's, I want to sell those ceiling fans, which are boring, but actually maybe this could be a little bit more exciting than that and have a lot of purposes, camping, hunting, fishing, I don't know,
Right.
Something a little bit more adventurous. So I just chose that. Plus then you look, it was calculated. It wasn't like Chaplin where he says, I'll do the mustache and this and that. And it came to him. You really methodically think about these things. And I said, the competition's not that bad, on the internet.
Right.
And I can get it for this, my margins could be that, I was smart enough to know that at that point.
Yeah.
So then I was working as a production assistant. I'm building a website, and Yahoo gave you 6 months free, the first 6 months, if you built a store. It was 45 days or some shit like that.
What year was this?
So this is, I'm building it in 1999, just going into 2000.
Wow. As far as e-commerce goes, you're a pioneer.
Right. E-commerce started in 96. I thought it was coming in late, right? You talk to yourself, no, it's too late. It's too late. No, I just started. I don't care. So then I'd get home from a 16-hour shoot. I'd build the site a little bit. Not too hard to build a Yahoo store back then. I only had 4 products, 4 colors, very simple. And I made my first sale, on a fax machine. The sale comes through. I was like, I made a sale. It's $230. Fax machine, right? And you see that fax, and you're like, oh, wow. And I was like, I was making $175 a day with per diem on a film shoot, for commercials, as a PA. I was like, holy shit. So you pick up the merchandise in my convertible Buick Skylark, and then I would then ship it out UPS out of my rented shack in Sherman Oaks, California, which I paid $800, and my fiance at the time was helping me pay half of that.
Right.
Who she ended up cheating on me with a guy named Bud. She was a habitual pot smoker. Cheated on me with a guy named Bud. What are the odds? So then I start getting 2 sales, and then 3 sales, and I'm going back and forth to these suppliers, and then 4 sales. And I'm kind of get by. I'm like, well, I could pay the rent now, because I was worried because we broke up. So
Sure.
Then I get a call. This is a hop skip. We get these hops that help you really come along. Guy says, I need $17,500 worth of tarps. It's Friday. I need them on Monday. I was like, okay, I got it. We'll bring it to you. So I make the sale. I don't have this shit. So I call up, I got to go to 3 different suppliers. How am I going to get it to them? All these guys want $17,000 just to deliver it in that amount of time. All these trucking companies. I get my friend who's a PA. I get him. He's working on a film shoot right down the street. Just so happens to be. I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm working on a shoot. I said, I'll pay you what they're paying. You help me drive this truck with his tarps to New York. I'm in Sherman Oaks, California.
Come on.
I said, we need a tandem, to get it there on Monday morning. I drive, you sleep, you drive, I sleep. 72 hours later, I deliver the tarps. I get the sale. Guy's like, what are you guys on? I thought we were getting on Tuesday. I'm like, you said Monday. I could have slept. So I deliver the tarps. I cry because I have money now. I could pay the rent, and that helped me push me forward. And I thought, well, that might be the biggest sale I ever have.
Hold on for a second, because that whole thing is crazy, and you went through it so quickly. Where did you find the investment first to be able to even buy these tarps to deliver the product? Was someone able to give you a loan to buy them?
I had through some of those sales that I made, I had just enough, prior for those 3 months I made some sales.
Right.
It was just enough revenue to give me some scratch to pay for the merchandise and max out my debit card. Cause I filed BK when I was a filmmaker 2 years before that. So I had no credit either.
Right.
So I'm screwed. So I just had enough scratch to like pay for the merchandise for that. My margins were good.
Right. And you couldn't even send it freight over land to get the tarps there on time on Monday. Cause that is a crazy drive schedule. I don't think truckers are like, you're insane.
Yeah, well, yeah, the trucking companies say, yeah, I'll do it, but I need like $16,000. That's all my money.
Right.
I'm not gonna make any money.
Right.
So I got a rental truck from the Galpin Ford in Hollywood, which is for film rental, and I used that truck, which is a much cheaper rate.
Right.
Than a U-Haul, and then I got my friend, and just delivered it, and then we took a train back.
Good for you. There really is always these stories in businesses that have started where like you have to just take a flyer that you're gonna make it and try to make it work and like couple together friends and resources and all these things, and it kind of like you kind of will the universe in the direction that you're going, I think the difference in some businesses, they'll just hit a wall. Like most businesses at some point will die. The fact that because you still have this business, I was looking at the website, and the fact that it's been around for 20 plus years now, like you really are in the 0.1% of businesses that start. So it really is amazing that you're able to roll that into something to fund the rest of your life and like help you do these passion projects like, writing, producing, directing, and all of these things, because, I'm sure we've seen plenty of, friends and people throughout our lives in places like, Barcelona and, in New York or LA, where you want to go and make your stamp on art. But at some point you have to be like, I'm going to starve. So I have to either move back to the Midwest or take a job doing whatever. So it's pretty cool that your backup ended up being such a grand slam.
I worked out of my house for like 3 years until the city kicked me out. So I also that was my film production company. So I'm doing the business and I'm doing Love Hollywood Style film, the production company, out of this rented shack in Sherman Oaks.
Right.
I was still paying $800 a month. So that's my warehouse. That's the production company. That's where I live. I had a gym in my garage. I'm trying to keep my costs low. So that was able to me to save enough money. But then the city finally kicked me out because I had trucking companies, I had tents that I sold, and that I set up all the merchandise. And they're like, you can't do this here. What are you, nuts? Right. So then I finally had to get a little warehouse in North Hollywood. And then I think, shit, how am I going to pay for this? I was doing really well because I was, I still had a lot of money, but you're nervous. You're poor. You think you're going to lose it all. And I said, I'm never going to make as much money as this one sale. So then one day I get a call. This is just as I moved into this warehouse. I get a call from the state of Florida, and they said, we need $1 million worth of tarps. There's an emergency. There's been 4 hurricanes back to back in Florida. It's in 2004.
Right.
I said, okay, no problem. We're the largest tarp supplier in the country, which we weren't. I said, but I knew that I would get them for them. I knew I would deliver for them more than anybody else was, because I'm a 7-night, 7-day-a-week kind of guy.
Right.
So then within 6 hours, I got the tarps. I got the deal. The state of Florida is going to write me a check in 45 days. Then I have to borrow some credit cards. Then I got, and then I said, my family's like, you file BK, you're going to have to give us some percentage on the back end of this deal.
I want a couple
so I'm
points
making
on
deals
this.
with my own family. Like, all right, credit card there. So I tell myself, wow, all my problems are over. I made $1 million in a day. I said, this is never going to happen again. And then 2005 comes around, and then Katrina happens, And I didn't get $1 million sale, but you know what happened was because people started calling. Remember I said I wanted to be the calculator kid like my dad.
Right.
I didn't become the calculator kid, but they started calling me Hurricane Mike the next year.
Come on.
So they said he's got the tarps. So all these companies are like, well, we don't have, but Hurricane Mike will have. So I got you Hurricane Mike. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I was like, I still want to be. I wish I was Happy Gilmore. I don't want that statue of Hurricane Mike. I want the Academy Award. But I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm fucking Hurricane Mike. Okay, so then $250,000 sale, $250,000 sale, $250,000 sale. So I'm starting to make these sales off of Katrina. And I said, well, I never think this will happen again. And you have those moments, but then there was a earthquake in Haiti, and that happens. And then there's these things that catapult you. So you keep your business lean, you make as much money as you can, and when there's not those anomalies, right? And you make your margins, healthy. You don't want to be the most expensive. You don't want to be the cheapest. You want to be right there, depending on your business model. And that's kind of like, how I've operated.